ito, ideya ni Jelly. Thank you po, Pastor. Every time na nandito ako sa pulpit, tapos birthday ko, I remember that I started this particular privilege when I was 22 years old. I'm 35 now. That was 13 years ago. Looking back, I was a very different man. Kumbaga, I started as a radical. Ewan ko kung bakit ako tiniwalaan ni Pastor. I'm sure there are moments that he regretted that decision. If I were him, ako rin. But thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Lord, for this privilege of being the Sunday school teacher in the church. This is the honor of my life more than anything else. More than my any role sa labas, this has been the honor of my life. When I'm about to do something stupid, I always remember, di pwede dahil Sunday school teacher ako dun sa simbahan namin. Anyway, we begin now with lessons on leadership and compromise. Pagdating po natin dahil nandito na tayo sa Numbers 32. We are now on the last chapters of Numbers and tatapusin na po natin ngayon ang Book of Numbers. So now, kakatapos pa lang nating pag-usapan yung defeat ng mga Midianites kasama si Balaam. Now, may example dito na dapat nating matutuhan because if you remember, ang Reuben at si Gad, sila ang pinakamalaki according sa proportion kung ilan ang kanilang population. Now, pagdating dito po, magne-negotiate sila with Moses na sila ay huwag nang sumama sa conquest ng Canaan dahil gusto na nilang mag-settle on the east side of Jordan, dito sa Transjordan. Because if you will remember, Jordan is a very long river that transects the whole of the land of Canaan. So gusto nila, dahil nakita nila yung plains of Moab, they wanted to settle there. So this is the discussion po pagdating sa Numbers 32. Now we read, Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle, and when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the high priest, and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, Arthoth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Elzar, even the country which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle. Wherefore, said they, if we have found grace in thy sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession, and bring us not over Jordan. So, ang argument nila, marami kaming baka, we are a people of cattle, yung kakakonquer lang natin na lupain ay paborable sa mga cattle. So, if you will, Moses and Eleazar, pwede bang dito na lang kami mag-settle at wag nyo na kaming isama doon over Jordan? Now, this request, of course, will infuriate Moses. Dahil ang sinasabi nitong dalawang tribo na ito, kayo nang bahala doon sa kabila, okay na kami dito. Nakaka-conquer lang nila, and sino ang nag-conquer nito? The whole 12 tribes of Israel went and sent 1,000 men from each tribe, and this was a whole Israel effort, pero ang gustong manginabang ay dalawang tribo lang. Now, kung ikaw si Moses, ang reaction mo ay, of course, you will be infuriated. And we will read in verse 6. And Moses said unto the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war and you will sit here? Uupo lang kayo dito habang yung iba nakikipaggera. And wherefore discourage ye the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord hath given them? Thus did your fathers when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up into the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel that they should not go into the land which the Lord hath given them. So Moses is reminding them na, uy kayo, yung mga ninuno nyo, nung nakita nila from the land of Eshcol, yung sa Kadesh Barnea, sabi nila hindi natin kaya, wag na lang tayong pumunta. Uulitin nyo pa? Kaya nga tayo umikot ng 40 years, uulitin nyo pa? Is that what you really want to do? Yan po ang discussion ni Moses. And in 10, and the Lord's anger was kindled the same time, and he swore, saying, surely none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years and upward shall see the land. Yun na, yung sumpa. Inulit lang hanggang sa verse 13. Okay, and in verse 16, nagkaroon ng renegotiation. Nag-negotiate ulit. From verse 16 to 27, nag-renegotiate yung dalawang tribes. Anong sabi nila? Next slide please. Una, hindi nila inaabandona ang kanilang mga brethren. Ang pledge nila ay magbibuild sila ng fortified cities for the families and livestock in Transjordan. Pero lilipat pa rin sila papuntang Jordan para sumama sa conquest ng Canaan. So ang bargain nila is that magtatayo lang kami dito ng mga fortified na mga lugar for the protection ng mga maiiwan, pero sasama kami papunta sa inyo. And in verse number 20, sabi dyan, in 19, in 19, basahin po ninyo, this is crucial because they forfeited their inheritance in the land of Canaan. Tingnan po natin this is a forfeiture of their inheritance, because if you will remember, their inheritance is on the east, the west side of Jordan, papuntang facing sa Caspian Sea. Caspian Sea na ba yan noon? Hindi, iba pa ang tawag. Sabi dyan, we will not inherit with them on the underside of Jordan or forward, because our inheritance is fallen to us on this side of Jordan eastward. So on the east, doon na sila magsisettle, wala na silang kukunin over the west side of Jordan. So sabi ni Moses, and Moses said unto them, if you do this thing, if you will go armed before the Lord to war, and will go all of you armed over Jordan before the Lord, until he hath driven out his enemies from before him, and the land be subdued before the Lord, then afterward you shall return and be guiltless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure that your sin will find you out. Build you cities for your little ones, and folds for your sheep, and do that which hath proceeded out of your mouth. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spake unto Moses, saying, thy servants will do as the Lord commandments. Our little ones, our wives, and flocks, alcater, shall be there in the cities of Gilead, but thy servants will pass over, every man armed for war, before the Lord, as my Lord saith. So, yun na nga, yun ang nakapag-desisyon na nila. Magbibuild lang ng fortifications yung mga lalaki, iiwan yung mga kababaihan at yung mga kabataan, and they will pass together with the whole tribe of Israel to conquer yung Canaan. Now, we see here na hindi lang po ang haba-haba kasi nito, and yung mga cities ay divide na. But ang pinaka-summary po nito is this. Hindi lang po si Dan at si Reuben, si Gad at si Reuben ang binigyan ng mana on the west side of Jordan. Binigyan din ng mana ang kalahati ng tribe ni Manasseh. Now remember, Manasseh ay hindi part ng original 12 sons ni Jacob, but he is the son of Joseph. So ito ngayon, si Manasseh binigyan din ng yung kalahating tribe ay binigyan din ng mana on the same side of Transjordan, kasama ng tribo ni Gad at ni Reuben. So yan po ang naging agreement nila dyan, and dyan po natapos yung chapter. Now, we will see that as we read the Old Testament, makikita natin yung mga consequences ng decision na ito. Okay. So what lessons can we gain from this bizarre episode? It looks bizarre in a sense na pinangakuan na kayo, iba pa yung hiningi ninyo at finorfeit pa ninyo ang inyong inheritance. Okay. So here, the first lesson that we should get is that we should not be making decisions out of the explicit will of God. The will of God was very explicit. Ang unang pangako doon kay Abraham na pangakong yon at ang covenant na yon ay minana nitong mga taga-Israelite is that they will be given the land of Canaan. They will not occupy kung ano po yung dinidescribe dito because even world history right now is affected by this decision ng mga tribo ni Gad at ni Reuben at ng kalahati ng Manase. Kung sumunod sila sa desisyon ng Panginoon and stayed where they were supposed to be, baka less ang conflict na meron tayo sa daigdig ngayon. Because that area that they have occupied is disputed until this very day. That area includes the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights is a war zone since the organization of the nation of Israel in 1946. It's disputed until now. Next slide please. Sorry. Yan. Para lang magkaroon tayo ng idea, pwedeng pa-zoom. Ma-zoom mo kaya, Dan? Yan. Taas mo to. Taas ng konti. No. Sige. Yan. Zoom out ng konti. Yan. Nandyan si Dan. Joke lang. Yan. Tingnan nyo kung gaano kaliit yung mga portions ni Dan, Naphtali at Asher kumpara mo sa kalahati pa lang ng kay Manase. Zoom out please. Zoom out ng konti. Yan. Lower. Yan. Itaas mo. Scroll up. Makita mo dyan, yan naman si Gad. Nandiyan kay Gad at nandun yung sa baba niya, sa baba ng Sukoth, sa may Jabok, yan nandyan si Reuben. You will see why they would negotiate na dito na lang kami. Because of the breadth at kung gaano kalawak yung mga territories na kiniklaim nila. So para sa kanila, bakit kami makikisiksik dyan samantalang mas malawak na dito? Dito na lang kami. From a purely mathematical and economic perspective, that decision made all the sense. Pero remember that they were covenantal people. They were under the covenant na ito ang pinangako ng Panginoon. Nangako kayo na doon kayo pupunta at ikakonquer ninyo ito, magbabago kayo ng desisyon dahil nakita ninyo that the fields are literally greener on this side of the Jordan. So you will see here that the decision making ng mga leaders ng Gad, ng kalahati ng Manase at ng Reuben were driven not out of wisdom but out of the lust of the eyes. Nakita nila, wow, ang ganda-ganda dito. Dito na lang tayo. Huwag na tayo doon makisiksik. Pagtingin nila, marsh, swamp, desert, mountains, napakahirap ang agriculture doon. Samantalang dito, mas malapit sila sa Dead Sea, mas malapit sila sa mga tributaries papuntang Dead Sea, mas well-irrigated dito, hindi doon sa tubig alat, dito maganda ang fields. Why would we go there? But remember that when we are making decisions, punta natin sa ating application, when we make decisions, we should always make decisions that make sense within the revealed will of God. Some decisions make sense economically. It doesn't make sense that we give a portion of our income to the church. It doesn't make economic sense na magsasantabi tayo ng portion ng ating income for the church. Let's just put in perspective, on average, we give 10% of our monthly income. It's more than that, of course. Halimbawa, 10%. Kung iisipin natin mathematically na nagko-compound yan, So we're giving more than 120% of our monthly income in a year. So isang buwan at kalahati, nagbibigay tayo ng sweldo natin ng isang buwan at kalahati out of the 12 months of the year. So we only have 10.5 months of our income dahil yung 1.5 months binibigay natin sa simbahan. Kung nag-compounding interest na lang yon at 7% just to beat the inflation over a period of many years, that would have been a very good savings account. Dahil ang SSS ninyo is only 5% of your income. Imagine, binibigyan nyo sa simbahan 10%, kung in-insurance nyo yan, mag-retire kayong bonggang-bongga. It doesn't make economic sense. And yet, we do it because we know that giving our tithes and offering honors the Lord. And it makes biblical sense. Kaya po, huwag tayong maging sweetik sa kung ano man po ang meron tayo na nakikita natin. Di ba, sana wala ganitong kaisipan. Sana hindi tayo nag-iisipan pagdating sa Agape Feast. Yan. Ba't tayo magpe-prepare ng masarap? Yung grupo ni Brother Earl, langka lang naman ang prepare, hindi pa masarap. Ba't tayo bibili ng lapu-lapu at ng yellowfin at ng talimago? Pwede na dyan ang sibubog. At daanin na lang natin sa nostalgia. Yan. Pwede na kita sa lawlaw. Total, ang dinadala lang naman nilang manok, crispy king na lang lagi. Magugulangan ba tayo over something so trivial as food? It may not make economic sense to us, pero let's prepare for the best at all times. Because para din naman yun sa Panginoon, not for us. Because the whole point na tayo ay nag-contribute para sa pagkain is for us to have fellowship. Hindi po pabonggahan at paramihan ng take-out because those things are evil. Okay na, move on na tayo. Baka marami pa akong masabi. Okay. Pakiback tabi. One slide back. Okay. Another lesson is that hindi po natin pwedeng magawa ang spiritual compartmentalization. In short, hindi natin pwedeng ihiwalay ang ating spiritual life from our work life and our personal life. Ito ang ginagawa ng Manase, ng Gad at ng Reuben is they were compartmentalizing their warfare life from their domestic life. O sige, dito ang aming mga anak, dito ang aming mga asawa, wala kaming risk na mamatay sila. Pwede kami makipaglaban freely because, we can fight without thinking na may mga captive na hostages sa amin. But that's foolish. Hindi po natin pwedeng i-compartmentalize ang ating sarili na tayo Kristiyano pag Sunday at Kristiyano tayo around Christians, but we are not Christian when we are surrounded by non-Christians. That's dumb. And that's really impossible to do. Either you are a Christian or you are not. Kasi po, whenever we are, ang Kristyanismo po natin ay hindi nalalagak sa isang gusali, sa isang edifisyo. Ang Kristyanismo po natin ay dinadala natin sa ating puso at kaluluwa. I hope that's clear. Hindi natin pwedeng mag-set aside na Christians ako sa ganitong setting, pero dito sa isang setting na ito, mag-set ako ng liberty. Okay. Also, God promises only the best. Ang promise ng Lord is best. It may be smaller than kung anong nakuha ng Manase, but it's for the best. Okay. Punta po tayo sa Numbers chapter 33. Ang Numbers 33 po ay ang pinaka-sinaunang vlog. Ito po ay a list of their itinerary kung saan po sila pumunta. If you read it, it's the whole kung saan sila nag-encamp at nag-set up ng tabernacle. Kung paano silang paikot-ikot 40 years, nandyan po from verse number 1 hanggang verse number 49. Okay, so we go there into verse 50. Skip na natin kasi napakahaba-haba niyan and you will be disinterested with the names there. Although, to put just in perspective, bakit ito importante? Because this places the Old Testament within the continuum of real space and time. Kumbaga, nagbibigay sila ngayon ng chance for us from the 21st century to verify the facts of these events using the tools available to us. That we can verify na kung tayo ay magiging diligent, makikita natin na merong traces ng Israelite civilization sa mga lugar na ito kung gagamitin natin ang mga tools available to us, which is archaeology. Okay? So in verse 50 to 56, ito na po yung command kung ano po ang inuutos sa kanila. And we should read this in whole. Basahin natin. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you pass over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, destroy their molten images, quite pluck down all their high places, and you shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land, and dwell therein, for I have given you the land to possess it. And you shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families, and the more you shall give, the more inheritance, and to the fewer you shall give, the less inheritance. Every man's inheritance shall be in place where his lot falleth, according to the tribes of your fathers you shall inherit. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which you let remain, them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein you dwell. Moreover, it shall come to pass that I shall do unto you as I ought to do unto them. So yun po ang pangako ng Panginoon. Kung hindi nyo gagawin ang command ko na palayasin yan lahat, they will be thorns to your sides, they will be pricks to your eyes, and shall vex you in the land wherein you shall dwell. At ang warning pa ng Panginoon, kapag hindi nyo ginawa ang inuutos kong gawin, ang gagawin ko dapat sa kanila, which is utter destruction, I will do unto you. So, clear ang Panginoon. Dapat paalisin sa lang lahat, walang matitira, otherwise magiging problema nyo sila, because what the Lord is preventing is syncretism. Wow. In our context, we call it worldliness. Okay. Ano po ang mga lesson na makukuha natin in 35? Before going forward, we should look back. Recently, ang paborito ng aking anak ay Dora the Explorer. Pag nagsasalita siya, parang na siyang si Dora. So pag makulit siya, binibigyan ko rin siya ng options. Which dress would you like to pick? Azul or rojo? So mamimili na siya base dun sa mga options. Alam niyo yung masaya sa Dora the Explorer? Kasi may summary siya kung anong nangyari. Diba? Paano nag-uumpisa ang episode? Lalabas si The Map. Sasabihin ni The Map kung saan sila pupunta. Where are we going? Grandma's house. We first will cross the bridge, over the fields, and down the mountain. Cross the bridge, over the fields, and down the mountain. At the end of the episode, uulitin yun. Tapos, sasabihin niya, we're in Grandma's house. How did we get there? We went over the bridge, up the hills, and down the mountain. Tapos, ito na yung tanong. What was your favorite part of the trip? Tapos, silence, di ba? I love that part too. You can imagine, ito yung tenor nung sila ay pinagbabasahan ni Moses kung saan sila dumaan over the 38 years. 40 years kasi kasama yung Sinai. We could just read. Bigyan natin ng example. Mag-umpisa tayo sa 12. And they took their journey out of the wilderness of Sin and encamped in Dokpa, and they departed in Dofka and encamped in Alush. Kung ikaw, kinasal ka nung nandun kayo sa Dokpa, di ba ang saya-saya nun? Kung may pinanganak ang anak nung nandun kayo sa Sinai, Di ba nung binabasa to ni Moses, di ba masaya kayo? Because it reminds you of God, of how God has sustained you over this 40-year wilderness journey. Ganon din po dapat tayo, every anniversary natin, we look back to the significant events na nangyari po sa ating simbahan. What year tayo napalaya sa busit? Joke lang. Ang ating simbahan ay kaliit-liit na nandun ngayon, repair na ng aircon. Nandun sa may BC. Inabutan nyo pa, no? Nandun sa ilalim ng Chico. Age reveal na yan. Yung iba, ako inabot ko pa yung nasa may BC. Yung iba, umabot na dun sa may Busit. Yung iba, umabot na sa may dito. Baka makabili tayo ng malaki-laki pang property, ikukwento natin kung anong nangyari dito. Ang tawag natin dito ngayon ay doon. Pag lumipat tayo, yung ito ngayon, doon yon dati. Kaya ito ay magiging dating doon. Joke. Di nyo yun alam. Okay. Okay, next slide please. We now go into Numbers chapter 34. Pagpunta po sa Numbers 34, ibinibigay na po dito ngayon kung ano yung boundaries. Ako po, ang trabaho ko every day of my life, walang paltos, I look at land titles. Minsan nga, siguro napapanaginipan ko na ang mga land titles. TCT number 1774-B, Register of Deeds Albay. Si Pastor, araw-araw niya rin trabaho. From point 1 to 2, yan. From point 1 to 2, 33 meters. Tapos nga, ano ang boundaries? This is that. Ito po yung land title ng Israel as given to them by the Lord. It's from Numbers 34 hanggang 13. Yan. Verse 1 hanggang 13 ng chapter 34, yan po ang land title ng Israel. So why is that? Because po hindi siya perfect na rectangle. Hindi parallelogram. Hindi siya perfect na parallelogram. Okay, next slide please. Yan. Yeah. Hindi niya pakinabangan. Yan po ang description ng lote ng Israel. Kaya po siya hindi apat na sides lang kasi irregular po ang kanyang shape. Kaya po makikita nyo dyan, yung green ay yung mga pangalan ng mga tribo ng Israel, maliban dyan sa Amrameans. So sa baba niyan, makikita po ninyo, yan ang boundary. At yung mga puti is kung ano yung pangalan niya according sa kung ano ang tawag ng mga present occupants during the land of conquest. And you will see that river dividing the land is called Jordan. Yang Jordan na po yan po ang kanilang natural boundary. Pero nga po, dahil sa request ng mga tribe of God, Reuben at Manasseh, na-extend po ang boundaries papunta doon. But hindi yan part ng kanilang inheritance. That is only a concession. So this is most likely 1,400 BC, before Christ. Yan po. Paano ko ba ipapadala yan sa inyo? Hanapin nyo na lang sa Google. It's readily available naman pag sinearch ninyo. Ang hanapin ninyo is yung Land of Israel before the conquest. Yan po ang kanyang description. At yung maliit dyan is the, see. Isa-isahin po natin ang mga leaders. Next slide. So si Caleb for the tribe of Judah, si Shemuel from the tribe of Simeon, si Elidad from the tribe of Benjamin, si Buki from the tribe of Dan, si Haniel from the tribe of Manasseh, si Kemuel from the tribe of Ephraim, si Elizaphan from the son of Parnak, si Partiel from the tribe of Issachar, Ahihud from the tribe of Asher, Pedahel from the tribe of Naphtali, and of course, si Joshua at si Eleazar. Okay. From the tribe of Levi. Okay. Now here we go to Numbers 35. Now this is where we will focus our discussion for today. Meron pa tayong remaining na 10 minutes. Gamitin natin ito. Okay. So in summary, ang Numbers 35 po is provision kung saan magsistay ang mga Levites at kung ano po ang mga cities of refuge. Okay. So as nagta-transition sila papunta sa conquest, ang isang problema dito ay wala pong inheritance ang tribe of Levi. And this is according to plan. Because ang plano ng Lord is i-divide ang mga Levites into the 11 territories, 12 kasi dalawa sa Manasseh, para po scattered sila to act as the spiritual leaders of that community. So kumbaga, wala silang inheritance because their inheritance is of the Lord, so they will be distributed among the 12 territories occupied by the nation of Israel to serve as God's people doon in the midst of every tribe. So yun po ang pinaka-summary ng Numbers 35. At ang sabi dyan ng Panginoon ay bigyan sila ng portion, proportional sa kung ilan po ang mayroon ang tribo kung saan yung mga Levites. Halimbawa, pinakamalaki yung Reuben at Gad, dun sila maraming ilalagay na mga Levites. And of course, the people surrounding those Levites in that tribe, sila po ang bahala sa daily provision ng mga Levites na yon. Okay. Now, we go to the more important part of this is the establishment of cities of refuge. Again, this will be a recurring theme, cities of refuge. So, nag-establish po ng 48 na Levitical cities. 48 na Levitical cities. Kung yan pong Levitical cities, yan po distributed among the 12 territories. Yan po ang mga cities specifically designated para mabuhay ang mga Levites. Out of that 48, 6 po or 1/8 ang magiging cities of refuge. 3 po on the east side of Jordan, 3 po on the west side of Jordan. Okay. Sino po ang involved? Ang involved po ay, of course, hindi ko na nilagay, yung victim, yung namatay, and then the two parties, na crucial dito is the manslayer or yung tao na nakapatay ng kapwa niyang tao unintentionally, so by mistake. And then po, the second party is what we call the avenger of blood or Goel Dahadam. Ano po siya? Siya po ang nearest male relative of the deceased. Ang duty po niya ay mag-execute ng judgment for retribution or judgment na siya po ang mag-execute ng nakapatay sa kanyang kapatid. So, sa context ko, kung halimbawa ako ay napatay accidentally, ang mag-avenge sa akin ay walang iba kundi si Jeff, ang aking kapatid. May baril ba siya? Wala naman siyang issue. So, kung mamatay din si Jeff, sabay kaming namatay, ang nearest blood relative namin will be Uncle Dennis. How will you be able to execute someone? Yung bite-bite mo. Parang hindi nga kita kamag-anak. Yan. Yan. Kung wala sa magulang, sa kapatid ng magulang, and then sa kabababa sa mga pinsan. So this system is established for the sake of order. Now we go next slide. So from verse 16 to verse 21, yan po ang criteria ng kung kailan siya ma-judge as murder at kailan siya hindi murder. When is it manslaughter and when is it murder? Sa American jurisprudence, meron po silang distinction between murder and manslaughter. Sa atin, ang distinction is between murder and homicide. tandaan, kung madalas kayong nanonood ng mga legal shows like Suits, manslaughter is only an American concept. Sa Pilipinas, it's murder versus homicide. So sa atin din, ang homicide will be likely, hindi absolutely, but these are unintentional deaths. So sa atin po, dito sa ating discussion, meron pong murder and manslaughter. So most likely, dito to inadapt ng American jurisprudence. So from verse 16 to verse 21, ano po ang mga criteria na masabing ito ay murder? If you use an instrument of iron, meaning they have now transitioned from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. So this is a very important distinction here. Yung people of Israel were at the brink of the Bronze Age going to the Iron Age. Kasi meron na ditong instruments of iron. And previously, ang minimension ay puro bronze. Okay. So dito na, if he smite with an instrument of iron so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall be surely put to death. So kung iron ang ginamit mong pamukpok, hindi yun pwedeng sabihin na unintentional because iron is the hardest alloy available to mankind at that particular point in time. Sabi dyan, if he smite with a throwing a stone, whether he may die and he die, he is a murderer. So kung binato mo ng bato, hindi mo siya aksidenteng na bato ng bato. Ano ka, nag-hatching? Tapos na ibato mo yung, ay sorry. No, you did it with intentionality. So therefore, murder. Kung gumamit ka ng weapon of wood, ikaw ay murderer dahil matigas din po ang kahoy. Try nyo. So, wala pong aksidenteng napalo mo lang siya na pagkalakas-lakas ng kahoy, sorry, accident. Gari baga, bao, peace. You can't do that. So, ang sabi dyan, the revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meets him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying of weight, that he shall die, or in enmity smite him with his hand, that he die, he that smote him shall be surely put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meets him. Again, yung element ng treachery. Kahit pa hindi ka gumamit ng iron, kahit hindi ka gumamit ng wood, kahit hindi ka gumamit ng stone, pero tinambangan mo, you did it with an ambush, that is still considered murder. So again, the element is intentionality and treachery. These two elements are still the ruling elements kung kailan po, even sa Philippine laws, ni-rule out ang homicide versus murder when there is the element of treachery. Kung ang wound ay sa likod, normally, kung ang wound ay sa likod, nauntugan siya ng bato, is that an accident? Of course not. Kasi it is done with treachery. Dahil nakatalikod siya, saka mo siya pinusaka ng bato. So that is considered murder, and this is important, the avenger, assemble, the avenger of blood is required to execute the person who murdered his kinsmen. That is a legal requirement from him. Okay. From 22 to 25, meron naman po dito kung kailan siya hindi murder. If he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of weight, or with any stone wherewith he may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he die, was not his enemy, neither sought his harm. Then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the avenger of blood according to this judgment. So ano po yung mga example? Halimbawa, nag-aararo kayo. For some reason, yung pag-aararo mo, nakawala yung hayop, naligi siya ng hayop, wala namang enmity doon, that's by accident, that's not murder. Halimbawa, nandun kayo, nagkakwari kayo, tapos nandun ka sa taas, nandun siya sa baba, kasi yung stone ay ginagamit for building. Pagpukpok mo, ay sorry, nahulog, tinamaan siya, hindi yun murder dahil wala namang intentionality. Again, ang circumstances ay kung ano po yung intentions. We are judging intentions. Okay. So, ito po ang mangyayari. Kung nakapatay ka in that period of time, if murder, you will surely die. If not, hindi yun murder, hindi ka rin po blameless. Wala po, hindi ka po, you will not go around and parang walang nangyari. There is still a penalty. This is the concept that we have adapted into our laws, adapted by Roman law, which is called distiero. Sa atin, this is only specific for one crime. For the crime of passion na ikaw ay may asawa ka at nahuli mong isang asawa na may kalaguyo, on the spot, pinatay mo sila, the penalty is distiero. Dito, that's for Philippine law. Dito, lahat po ng homicide or hindi sinasadyang pagkapatay, ang penalty is dun ka lang sa city of refuge. So may 6 na city of refuge identified. Huwag na natin isa-isahin. Yun po ang role nila is this. Kapag may isang manslaughterer or may nakapatay na hindi nila sinasadya, that person cannot go back to his hometown. Doon siya and he will wander into either of the 6 cities of refuge at doon siya hanggang kailan. Meron pong binigay at hindi sa 6 years, 12 years, 20 years, 40 years. Ang binigay po na period is hanggang sa mamatay ang high priest. So, kung halimbawa ako, napatay ko si Brother Carl lang hindi ko sinasadya, wala kasalanan sa akin si Carl. Baka ako pang may atraso kay Carl. So, ako po ay magtatago sa city of refuge dahil hindi ko sinasadya. Kung ang high priest si Pastor Ulysses, hanggang buhay si Pastor Ulysses, hindi ako makakauwi. So, pabor, kung halimbawa ang high priest, nung nakapatay ka ay 2 years lang na buhay or 6 months lang na buhay, paano kung bagong install? Tapos nabuhay siya ng 60 years. Hindi ka makakauwi. So, yun po ang measurement ng period of time kung kailan po siya mamamatay. Okay. So, next slide. What are the rules? So, halimbawa, ako, napatay ko si Carl, hindi ko sinasadya. Buhay pa si Pastor Ulysses dahil siya ang high priest. Lumabas ako at gusto kong mag-adventure. Hinanap ko ang aking sarili dahil may midlife crisis ako. Hinanap ko ang sarili ko, lumabas ako kung saan man ako naka-assign na city of refuge. Nasa lubong ko, ang kapatid ni Carl. Pwede na akong patayin. To exact, not revenge, but retribution or judgment. At wala siyang guilt. Pero halimbawa, yung kapatid ni Carl, pinuntahan talaga ako sa city of refuge. Dahil galit na galit talaga siya sa akin. Hindi yung slaughter lang. Pinatay mo si Kuya Carl, ipaghihiganti ko siya. Mararamdaman mo ang batas ng mga api. Yan, something like that. Pinuntahan niya pa rin ako sa city of refuge. Now, yung kapatid ni Carl na nag-avenge sa akin, he will be killed for the charge of murder. Because what he did is now transgression of the prevailing law at that time. Ano pa ang rules? Bawal po ang blood money. Usong-uso sa Middle East ang blood money. Na pag may napatay ang isang Pilipino, magbabayad ang embassy ng Pilipinas ng blood money doon sa pamilya ng napatay niya. Or pag napatay ang Pilipino, magbabayad ng blood money yung nakapatay sa kanya or something like that. Hindi pa naman ako galing doon. Pero parang ganun ba nangyari kay Sara Balabagan? Siya ba yun? Parang may ganun ako naaalala nung kabataan ko. Hindi. Sino nga yung pinortray ni Nora Honor? Si Flor Contemplacion. Yan. Thank you very much. Si Sara Balabagan, siya ba yung may HIV? Siya yung ginawa ni Arnold Clavio. Sara dito. Ala, napag-ahalataan ng edad ng mga nakakaalam. Okay. Usually, blood money na lang at makakabalik na. But not for Israel. Bawal po ang concept ng blood money. Kasi po, you will be held to account kung ano po ang ginawa mo. The principle there is that ang judgment po ay hindi dapat nabibili. Ang judgment ay hindi dapat nabibili. Gusto kong sabihin yan with conviction na yan ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas. I can't. I just can't. Hindi ko kayang sabihin na fair ang justice sa Pilipinas. Believe me, I want to say it with all my heart. I can't. Been there, done that. Okay. Ano po ang lessons na makikita natin from this episode ng ating pong pag-aaral regarding sa cities of refuge? Number one is that God cares deeply about our motive. More than the methods that we do in doing the ministries of the church, mas importante po sa Panginoon ang ating motive. Why do we do the things that we do? Is it for the glory of God or is it for something else? Kasi po, along the way, when you mature in the faith, when tumatagal ka na po doing ministry things, there is a sense na ginagawa na lang natin yan out of duty. Sometimes out of social status. Sometimes out of social status symbol. There are many motivations about why we do the things that we do. But God checks our motive that it should be solely for the glory of God. Now, mahirap pong sabihin na lahat na lang, pati pag inom natin ng tubig, pati po yung paglilinis natin dito, we are doing for the glory of God. But why not? It may be a difficult task to check our hearts from time to time, but why not? And I think we should. Next, and more importantly here, is that this is a proto-gospel presentation of Jesus Christ. Na ang mga cities of refuge po, these are bizarre. Because this does not occur in other laws of ancient Near East cultures. Wala pong ganitong batas anywhere sa mga kakontemporaryo ng Israel at this particular point in time. Wala pong ganitong uri ng graciousness extended sa mga nagkasala. Because ano po ang prevailing dati? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Yung pong code of Hammurabi, which in itself is not a bad law. Because it established order to prevent cyclical killing that is still present in many Moro countries. There is still the concept of rido, na pag may napatay, kailangan may maghigante at any point in time, kahit sino sa pamilya, pwedeng patayin. Rido, cyclical killing. So Hammurabi is good law, but God went beyond the good law and established cities of refuge. Kung makikita po natin dito, safe po tayo sa ating avenger. Dahil po sa mga nagagawa nating pagkakasala, we can liken Christ as our city of refuge, na in Him no judgment shall befall upon us. And when we go outside Jesus Christ, doon po tayo nagkakaroon ng problema. So, kung i-relate natin sa ating New Testament standing, we are considered to be in our city of refuge for the sole reason that Christ redeemed us from our sins. And dahil po nandun tayo sa protection ng Panginoon, there is no more judgment upon us. Wala pong makapanghuhusga sa atin. Not ourselves, not other people, not Satan, and more importantly, not God Himself. That's important. Hindi po panghusgahan ni Satan ang kalaban natin. Kasi si Satan, walang power na husgahan tayo. Ang kaya lang gawin ni Satan ay bigyan tayo ng iPad. Ang kaya lang gawin ni Satan ay i-tempt tayong lahat. Ang kaya lang gawin ni Satan ay sulsulan tayong lahat. But he cannot judge us. May kasabihan nga, only judge can God me. Joke. Only God can judge us because that is true. Only God can give judgment to us. At habang po nasa city of refuge tayo, which is Jesus Christ, even God Himself cannot judge us for our sins because we are under the protection of Jesus Christ. Salamat po sa inyong pakikinig. Sumobra ako ng 7 minutes. Maraming salamat po.
Shall we close in prayer as we prepare ourselves for the next service? O Lord God, we thank you for your word. And Lord, tulungan niyo po kami, Panginoong Diyos, na ang mga napapakinggan namin, mga itinuturo, ay hindi lamang po maging karagdagan ng kaalaman sa aming mga isipan, kundi higit sa lahat, Panginoong Diyos, ay matutunan namin ang mga nakapaloob na mga lessons doon kung paano ang mga buhay namin, Panginoong Diyos, ay maging ayon sa iyong kalooban. Panginoon, tulungan niyo po ang bawat isa na ang lahat ng natututunan ay ito po ay ma-demonstrate sa aming po mga buhay, Panginoon. This we ask and pray in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Magkakaroon tayo ng 5-minute break before we proceed to our worship service.